The city stretched out before me, a glittering tapestry of towering skyscrapers and streams of holographic data weaving through the skyline like neon veins. Hover cars zipped between the buildings, leaving trails of light in their wake. From my vantage point on the balcony of my small apartment, I could see the bustling market square below, alive with activity. People moved in a vibrant, chaotic dance, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of countless advertisements. I turned away from the view, the allure of the city lost on me. My equipment buzzed on the table, a constant reminder of the chaos waiting just outside my door. I picked up my retrieval unit, its familiar weight comforting in my hand, and headed out. Navigating the crowded streets was second nature to me. As a reclaimer, I was used to moving through the city quickly and efficiently, always on the lookout for the next memory leak. Today was no different. A particularly nasty leak had been reported in the market square, and I was already running late. As I approached the square, the air crackled with tension. People were scattered, some clutching their heads in confusion, others arguing loudly as memories not their own intruded into their consciousness. I activated my retrieval unit, the device humming softly as it scanned the area. "Hey, you there?" A vendor waved frantically at me from his stall, his eyes wide with panic. "I think I've got someone else's memories. This can't be right." I nodded, not bothering with pleasantries. Time was of the essence. "Stay calm," I instructed, moving towards him. "I'll take care of it." The retrieval unit beeped, locking onto a rogue memory fragment. I directed the device towards the vendor, watching as the memory was extracted and stored. The man blinked, a look of relief washing over his face. "Thank you," he muttered, sinking back into his chair. I gave a curt nod and moved on, the unit already alerting me to another fragment nearby. I worked my way through the square, the retrieval unit growing heavier with each collected memory. The process was draining, each fragment a reminder of the lives and stories I was tasked with untangling. By the time I secured the last rogue memory, I could feel the strain settling into my bones. My comms unit buzzed, breaking through my exhaustion. I tapped the device, bringing up the message. "High priority assignment." The voice on the other end crackled. "Report immediately. Client is experiencing severe memory intrusion." I cursed under my breath. High priority meant one thing: urgency. I glanced at the details on my comms unit. The client's name was Zara. No further information, just an address. I turned on my heel and headed towards the apartment complex on the other side of the city. The journey was a blur of lights and motion. The urgency of the assignment drove me forward, my weariness momentarily forgotten. When I arrived at Zara's building, I didn't waste time. I took the stairs two at a time, my heart pounding in my chest. I reached her door and knocked sharply. "Zara, I'm Aiden, a reclaimer. I'm here to help." No response. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. Pushing the door open, I stepped inside, my retrieval unit at the ready. Zara was in the living room, curled up on the floor. Her eyes were wide and unfocused, her body trembling. She was caught in the throes of a past life memory, reliving a moment from a life she never lived. The intensity of her distress was palpable, filling the room like a tangible presence. I approached cautiously, speaking softly. "Zara, I'm here to help. Can you hear me?" Her gaze snapped to mine, but there was no recognition in her eyes. She was trapped in the memory. I activated the retrieval unit, the device whirring as it scanned for the rogue memory fragment. Zara began to speak, her voice thick with emotion. "He was there. He was right there. And I couldn't save him." Tears streamed down her face as she relived the memory, her anguish tearing at my heart. The retrieval unit beeped, locking onto the memory fragment. I directed the device towards her, watching as the fragment was extracted and stored. Zara's body went limp, her eyes closing as the memory released its hold on her. I knelt beside her, checking her pulse. It was steady, but she was unconscious. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling over me. The intensity and coherence of her memory had been unlike anything I'd seen before. Gently, I lifted Zara and carried her to the couch, laying her down carefully. I sat on the edge of the couch, watching her breathe. Questions swirled in my mind, but there would be time for answers later. For now, I needed to report back and secure the memory fragment. I tapped my comms unit, sending a quick message to my supervisor. Memory secured. Client is stable but unconscious, awaiting further instructions. As I waited for a response, I glanced around Zara's apartment. It was a small, tidy space, filled with personal touches that hinted at her personality. Photos lined the walls, showing Zara with friends and family. A bookshelf overflowed with novels and trinkets from various places. It was clear she had lived a full life, one filled with experiences and connections. The comms unit buzzed, drawing my attention back. "Good work, Aiden," my supervisor's voice crackled through. "Bring the fragment to the lab for analysis. We'll need to figure out why this memory was so intense, and stay with the client until she wakes up. We need to understand what she's going through." I acknowledged the instructions and turned my attention back to Zara. As I watched over her, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much larger. The coherence and intensity of her memory hinted at a deeper, more sinister pattern. I leaned back, the weariness creeping back into my bones. The city outside buzzed with life, oblivious to the chaos unfolding within its shadows. As a reclaimer, I was used to dealing with fragments of other people's lives. But this time, it felt different. This time, the fragments were weaving a story I couldn't yet see, a story that would soon pull me into its depths. For now, I could only wait and watch, the weight of the future pressing down on me. The city continued to pulse with life, a stark contrast to the quiet turmoil within Zara's apartment. The first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, casting long shadows across the room. It was a new day, but the echoes of the past lingered, whispering of the challenges yet to come. As Zara stirred, I prepared myself for the questions and revelations that would inevitably follow. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The fragments of tomorrow would shape the destiny of today, and I, Aiden the Reclaimer, was right in the middle of it all. Zara woke slowly, blinking against the morning light that filtered through the blinds. I watched her from the chair where I had kept vigil, my thoughts racing with the implications of her memories. When she finally focused on me, confusion gave way to recognition. "You're the Reclaimer," she said, her voice hoarse. "Aiden," I replied, offering a small smile. "You had a rough night. How are you feeling?" She rubbed her temples, wincing. "Like I've been hit by a freight train. Did you get it?" "I did," I said, showing her the retrieval unit. "But Zara, your memories aren't just fragments. They're consistent, detailed. It's like you're living another life." Zara looked away, her expression troubled. "I know. It's been getting worse. These memories, they're not mine, but they feel real. They're ruining my life." I leaned forward. "Tell me more." "When did it start?" She sighed, hugging her knees to her chest. "A few months ago. At first, it was just flashes, faces, places I didn't recognize. But then they became more vivid, like dreams I couldn't wake up from. I'd find myself lost in them, losing track of time. My friends, my job, everything started falling apart." Her pain was evident, a stark reminder of the havoc these leaks could cause. "Have you noticed any patterns?" I asked. "Anything that might explain why this is happening to you?" Zara hesitated, then shook her head. "No, but there's one memory that keeps coming back. It's always the same. A man standing in front of a massive door, like he's guarding something. I feel this overwhelming sense of dread every time." I noted her description, sensing it might be a crucial clue. "We need to investigate further. These aren't just random leaks. There's a bigger picture here." Together, we pieced through the fragments of her past, looking for connections. Zara's memories provided more than just confusion. They were a roadmap. Each recollection hinted at places and people that might hold answers. One evening, as we pored over her memories, Zara suddenly tensed. "There's a place, an old building downtown. I keep seeing it in my dreams. It feels important." Intrigued, I pressed for details. "Describe it." "An abandoned skyscraper," she said. "It's run down. But I remember the address. It's like it's calling to me." We decided to investigate the next day. The building stood like a forgotten giant amidst the newer constructions, its windows shattered, its facade covered in graffiti. Zara hesitated at the entrance, her face pale. "Are you sure about this?" I asked. She nodded, determination hardening her features. "I need to know." Inside, the air was thick with dust and decay. We navigated the dark, cluttered hallways until we found a hidden staircase leading down. The deeper we went, the colder it became. At the bottom, we found a door that matched Zara's description perfectly. Heart pounding, I pushed it open. Beyond lay a dimly lit chamber filled with memory storage devices and data logs. It was a clandestine lab, evidence of unauthorized experiments scattered everywhere. "Whoever did this went to great lengths to hide it," I murmured, scanning the room. "This isn't just about Zara's memories. It's a systemic manipulation." We spent hours combing through the logs. Each entry revealed more about the nature of the experiments: selective memory alterations, psychological conditioning. It was clear that these leaks weren't accidents, but deliberate tampering. As we prepared to leave, Zara gasped, clutching her head. "Not now," she groaned, sinking to the floor. I rushed to her side, activating the retrieval unit. But this memory was different. It was stronger, more vivid. Zara began to speak in a voice not entirely her own, describing a hidden facility beneath the skyscraper, guarded by armed personnel. Her vision guided us to another hidden passage, leading deeper underground. There, we found a more extensive lab, confirming our suspicions. Unauthorized memory experiments were being conducted on a massive scale. The discovery was both a breakthrough and a warning. We had to act quickly and find out who was behind this. Our investigation led us to Dr. Voss, a reclusive scientist living off the grid. His cabin was nestled in the woods, far from prying eyes. When we arrived, he greeted us with wary suspicion, his eyes shadowed with guilt and fear. "Why have you come?" Voss demanded, his voice rough from disuse. "We know about the memory leaks," I said, stepping forward. "We found the labs. We need to understand why this is happening." Voss's shoulders slumped, as if the weight of the world pressed down on him. "It's the Elysium Initiative," he confessed. "What started as a noble goal to enhance lives by selectively enhancing beneficial memories devolved into a nightmare. The leaks are a side effect, but the real danger is the manipulation. It's about control, shaping society according to a twisted vision." He shared the schematics of the central hub, the Citadel, where the core operations were conducted. "If you want to stop this, you need to disable the central system," Voss said, his tone grave. "But be warned, it's heavily guarded. They won't let you disrupt their plans easily." Armed with this new information, Zara and I prepared for the infiltration. Disguised as technicians, we gained entry to the Citadel, our nerves taut as we navigated the sterile, high-tech facility. The inner sanctum was a maze of corridors and security checkpoints. We moved carefully, avoiding detection. Each step brought us closer to the heart of the operation. Finally, we reached the central control room, a vast space filled with monitors and interfaces. "What now?" Zara whispered, her eyes scanning the room. "Find the main terminal," I replied. "We need to access the core system and upload the virus Dr. Voss provided." We split up, working quickly. Just as I located the terminal, an alarm blared. Security swarmed the room, and chaos erupted. Zara and I fought back, using every trick we knew to fend off the guards. Amid the commotion, Zara managed to upload the virus. The system began to falter, the lights flickering as the core infrastructure started to shut down. "We need to get out," I yelled over the din. "Now!" We fought our way to the exit, narrowly escaping the collapsing facility. Outside, the night air was cool against my sweat-soaked skin. Zara collapsed beside me, gasping for breath. "It's done," she panted. "The system is down." But the victory came with a heavy cost. The disruption caused a backlash, resulting in the irreversible loss of many stored memories, including some of Zara's most cherished ones. The realization hit us hard, a bitter reminder of the stakes involved. As the city began to stir with the news of the Citadel's downfall, I knew our journey was far from over. We had uncovered a conspiracy, but dismantling it entirely would require more than just shutting down a single facility. For now, we had dealt a significant blow to those who sought to manipulate reality. The battle was won, but the war for the truth and for the future had only just begun. Together, Zara and I would face the challenges ahead, our bond forged in the fires of conflict and discovery. The path would be fraught with danger, but we were ready. The fragments of tomorrow beckoned, and we were determined to see them whole. The city skyline glowed with the artificial light of countless holograms, each flickering promise a distraction from the dark reality we were uncovering. Zara and I stood on the roof of a nondescript building, our vantage point granting us a clear view of the Citadel in the distance. The memory manipulation facility was dark now, its systems crippled by the virus we'd uploaded. But the real challenge lay ahead. Dismantling the network of influence the Elysium Initiative had woven through the city's power structure. "Are you sure about this?" Zara asked, her voice barely audible over the hum of the city. I nodded, my resolve hardening. We have to follow the trail, expose how deep this manipulation goes. If we don't, they'll rebuild and come after us with a vengeance. We descended from the roof and made our way to the underground network, where illicit memory trades thrived. It was a world hidden beneath the polished veneer of the city's surface, a labyrinth of tunnels and shadowy figures. Here, memories were currency, and the dealers thrived on the desperation of those willing to trade their past for a new future. Our first stop was a dingy club known as the Memory Hole. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the buzz of conversation. The clientele ranged from the city's elite to its most desperate denizens, all seeking the forbidden thrill of experiencing someone else's life. "Stay close," I murmured to Zara as we pushed through the crowd. Our target was a memory dealer named Jax, rumored to have connections to the higher echelons of the Elysium Initiative. We found him at the back of the club, surrounded by a group of eager buyers. "Jax," I called out, my tone firm. He looked up, his eyes narrowing as he recognized me. "We need to talk." Jax dismissed his entourage with a wave and leaned back in his chair, his gaze shifting between me and Zara. "What brings a reclaimer to my humble establishment?" "We're looking for information," I said, pulling up a chair. Zara stood beside me, her presence a silent reminder of the stakes involved. About the Elysium Initiative and their political connections. Jax's expression hardened. "That's dangerous territory, even for you, Aiden. What's in it for me?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "Your freedom. Help us, and I'll make sure you stay off the Reclaimer's radar." He considered the offer, then nodded. "Fine, but this stays between us. The initiative has its fingers in every pie, from the city council to the police force. They've been using memory manipulation to control key figures, destabilize rivals, and maintain their power." Zara's face paled. "Do you have names? Specific people involved?" Jax hesitated, then reached into his jacket, pulling out a small data chip. "This has everything you need. But be careful. If they catch wind of what you're doing, they'll come after you with everything they've got." We took the chip and left the club. the weight of Jax's words pressing down on us. Back at our hideout, we plugged the chip into a secure terminal and began sifting through the data. It was worse than we'd imagined. The initiative had infiltrated every level of government and industry, using memories to blackmail, coerce, and control. As we scanned the list of names, Zara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "I know these people," she whispered. "Some of them, they're close to me, friends, colleagues. This can't be right." My heart sank as I realized the personal stakes for Zara. The initiative's web of influence reached deep into her life, adding a layer of betrayal that cut to the bone. "We need to confront them," I said, my voice grim. "Find out how far this goes and who's behind it." Our investigation led us to a high-profile gala at the city's central tower, a gathering of the city's most powerful figures. Disguised as catering staff, we slipped into the event, blending into the background as we scanned the room for familiar faces. "Over there," Zara whispered, nodding towards a group of politicians. Among them was a man she recognized from her memories, a close friend now revealed as a puppet of the initiative. We moved closer, listening to their conversation. It was a calculated dance of power and influence, every word a move on a chessboard only they could see. As the evening wore on, we followed the politicians to a private room, intent on uncovering their secrets. Inside, they discussed plans that confirmed our worst fears. Strategic memory alterations designed to consolidate power and eliminate dissent. Zara's anger boiled over, and she stepped forward, revealing our presence. "How could you?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "How could you betray everyone for this?" The room fell silent, the politicians turning to face us. One of them, a tall, imposing figure, stepped forward. "Zara, you don't understand. This is for the greater good. The initiative is creating a perfect society. By controlling people's minds," Zara shot back. "By destroying lives." Before he could answer, a door behind us burst open, and armed guards flooded the room. We were surrounded, and there was no escape. They dragged us through a series of corridors until we stood before a large, ornate door. Inside, we were greeted by a figure I recognized from the data chip, the architect, the mastermind behind the Elysium Initiative. He was tall and slender, with a cold, calculating gaze that seemed to pierce through to your soul. "Welcome," the architect said, his voice smooth and disarming. "I've been expecting you." He motioned for us to sit, but I remained standing, my fists clenched. "We know what you've been doing. Manipulating memories, controlling people. It's monstrous." The architect smiled, a chilling expression devoid of warmth. "Monstrous? No, Mr. Aiden. It's necessary. Imagine a world free from conflict, where everyone plays their part perfectly. That's what we're building. A utopia." Zara's voice trembled with fury. "You're playing God with people's lives. This isn't utopia. It's a nightmare." The architect's eyes narrowed. "You're idealists clinging to a flawed reality, but you're intelligent, resourceful. Join us. Help us refine the system. Together, we can perfect humanity." The offer hung in the air, tempting yet repulsive. I glanced at Zara, seeing the conflict in her eyes, but there was no question in my mind. "We will never be part of this," I said, my voice firm. "We'll fight you every step of the way." The architect sighed, a look of genuine regret on his face. A pity, but predictable. "Guards, take them away." As they moved to grab us, the lights flickered, and a low hum filled the room. The guards hesitated, confused. Suddenly, a side door burst open, and Dr. Voss entered, flanked by a small group of rebels. "Now!" Voss shouted, tossing us weapons. "We're getting out of here!" Chaos erupted as we fought our way through the guards, Voss leading us through a maze of corridors. We emerged into the cool night air, the city sprawling out before us. "We can't keep running," Zara said, catching her breath. "We need to dismantle their entire network." Voss nodded, his expression grim. "We will. But first, we need to regroup. There's a safe house nearby. Follow me." As we moved through the shadows, the enormity of our task weighed heavily on me. The Elysium Initiative's grip on the city was strong, but we had allies now, and we had a plan. The fight for the future had begun in earnest, and there was no turning back. Together, we would expose the truth and tear down the walls of control that the architect had built. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but we were ready. The fragments of tomorrow awaited, and we were determined to reclaim them. The night air was sharp with anticipation as we approached the citadel. Zara and I moved through the shadows, our nerves taut with the weight of what we were about to do. The citadel loomed before us, its sleek lines and towering presence a stark reminder of the power we were up against. Dr. Voss's voice crackled in our earpieces, a steadying presence in the chaos. "You're almost there. Remember, the central control room is on the top floor. Get in, upload the virus, and get out. I'll guide you through." "Understood," I replied, glancing at Zara. She nodded, her jaw set with determination. We slipped through the perimeter, avoiding the roving security drones and patrolling guards. The Citadel's security was tight, but Voss's schematics had given us a fighting chance. We reached the side entrance, and I hacked the access panel, the door sliding open with a hiss. Inside, the Citadel was a maze of corridors, each turn bringing us closer to our goal. We moved quickly, our steps echoing in the sterile, silent halls. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps forced us to duck into a storage room. We held our breath as a group of guards passed by, their conversation a low murmur. Once they were gone, we continued, climbing a stairwell that led to the upper levels. The tension was palpable, each step bringing us closer to the central control room and to the heart of the Elysium Initiative's power. We emerged onto the top floor, where the corridors were wider, the lighting harsher. The control room was just ahead, but so were more guards. We needed a distraction. "Voss, we need a diversion," I whispered into my comm. "Give me a moment," he replied. Seconds later, alarms blared throughout the building. The guards around the control room exchanged confused glances before rushing off to investigate. "Go now," Voss urged. We sprinted to the door, and I worked quickly to disable the lock. The door slid open, revealing a room filled with monitors and interfaces, the nerve center of the Citadel's operations. Zara moved to the main terminal, her fingers flying over the keys as she prepared to upload the virus. "I need a few minutes," she said, her voice tense. I kept watch, my heart pounding. Suddenly, the door burst open, and guards flooded in. "Hands up!" one of them shouted. I fired a warning shot, forcing them to take cover. "Hurry, Zara!" She worked frantically, but the guards were closing in. I engaged them, using every trick I knew to hold them off. The room filled with the sounds of gunfire and shouts, the air thick with tension. Then a guard lunged at Zara, a device in his hand. I realized too late it was a memory reprogrammer. He pressed it to her temple, and she screamed, her eyes glazing over as the device took hold. "Zara!" I yelled. Rushing to her side, I ripped the device away, but the damage was done. She stared at me, lost in a sea of forced memories. "Stay with me," I urged, shaking her. "Fight it." Her eyes cleared for a moment, and she gasped, clinging to me. "Aiden." I nodded, pressing the retrieval unit to her temple. The device hummed as it worked to undo the forced memories. Zara blinked, her mind clearing. "I'm okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Good," I said, turning back to the guards. "Finish the upload." Zara resumed her work, and moments later, the virus began to spread through the Citadel's systems. The monitors flickered, the lights dimmed, and the building shuddered as the core infrastructure started to shut down. "We did it," Zara breathed, her eyes wide with relief. But our victory came with a cost. The disruption caused a severe backlash, resulting in the irreversible loss of many stored memories, including some of Zara's most cherished ones. I saw the realization dawn on her, the pain etched on her face. "It's done," I said softly, "but we need to get out." We fought our way to the exit, the citadel collapsing around us. Outside, the city skyline was bathed in the first light of dawn, a stark contrast to the chaos we had left behind. We made our way to the safe house, the reality of our actions sinking in. Zara sat down heavily, her eyes distant. "I've lost so much," she murmured. "Those memories. They were a part of me." I sat beside her, unsure of what to say. The weight of her loss was palpable, a stark reminder of the cost of our victory. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "I wish there was another way." She shook her head, a sad smile tugging at her lips. "It's not your fault. And maybe it's for the best. I can't live in the past forever." Her words were heavy with resolve, and I knew she had made her decision. Zara chose to embrace the future without the burden of past lives. It was a hard choice, but one that offered a glimmer of hope. In the days that followed, the city began to rebuild. The public became aware of the Elysium Initiative, leading to widespread debates and reforms. The memory manipulation technology was dismantled, and safeguards were put in place to prevent future abuses. Society grappled with the ethical implications, striving to create a future where genuine human experience was valued above all else. Zara and I stood at the edge of the market square, watching as people went about their lives. The city was different now, a place where the past no longer held sway over the present. "I think it's time for me to start over," Zara said, her voice filled with determination. "To live my own life, without the shadows of the past." I nodded, understanding her need to move forward. "You'll do great, Zara. You deserve a fresh start." She smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that spoke of hope and new beginnings. "And you? What will you do?" I glanced at the bustling city, the vibrant dance of life that had always been my home. "I'll keep doing what I do best, helping people reclaim their lives, but with a new perspective, thanks to you." We embraced, a final gesture of the bond we had forged through our trials. Then we parted ways, each of us stepping into the future, with the lessons of the past guiding us. As I walked away, the first rays of the sun cast long shadows across the city, a symbol of the enduring human spirit. The path ahead was uncertain, but filled with promise, and I, Aidan the Reclaimer, was ready to face whatever came next. The city below shimmered in the pre-dawn light, a sprawling mosaic of steel and glass. From my vantage point on the rooftop, I could see Zara standing at the edge of the building, her silhouette framed by the first rays of the rising sun. She was motionless, lost in her thoughts as she gazed out over the skyline. I stood a few paces behind her, giving her space. Our journey had been long and fraught with danger, but it had brought us here, to this moment of quiet reflection. The air was crisp, filled with the promise of a new day, yet tinged with the bittersweet reality of our parting. Zara turned slightly, sensing my presence. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said, her voice soft but clear. I nodded, stepping closer. "It is. The city feels different now, like it's waking up from a long nightmare." She smiled, a hint of sadness in her eyes. "We've changed it, Aidan. We've given people a chance to start over, free from the past." Her words carried weight, the truth of our accomplishments settling between us. The citadel's fall had shaken the city to its core, but it had also sparked a wave of reform and hope. People were beginning to reclaim their lives, unburdened by the manipulated memories that once held them captive. "What's next for you?" I asked, genuinely curious. Zara had faced so much, lost so much, yet here she was, standing strong and determined. "I'm not sure," she admitted, her gaze drifting back to the horizon. "But I know I need to find my own path, to live a life that's truly mine." The resolve in her voice was unmistakable. Zara was ready to move forward, to embrace the future without the shadows of her past. It was a strength I admired, a testament to her indomitable spirit. "And you?" she asked, turning to face me fully. "What will you do, Aidan?" I shrugged, a small smile playing on my lips. "I'll keep doing what I do best, helping people reclaim their lives, but with a new understanding of what it means to live genuinely." Our eyes met, and for a moment the weight of our shared experiences hung in the air. We had been through so much together, faced dangers that had tested our limits, and come out stronger on the other side. The bond we had forged was unbreakable, even as our paths diverged. "I'll miss you," Zara said, her voice tinged with emotion. "I'll miss you too," I replied, feeling the truth of those words deep in my bones. "But this isn't goodbye. It's just the beginning of something new." She nodded, a tear glistening in the corner of her eye. "Thank you, Aidan, for everything." I stepped forward, wrapping her in a warm embrace. It was a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of all we had endured and achieved together. When we finally pulled apart, there was a sense of finality, but also of hope. As Zara turned back to the horizon, the first light of dawn broke over the city, casting a golden glow across the landscape. It was a new beginning, a fresh start for everyone, including us. I watched her for a few more moments, committing the scene to memory. Then I turned and walked away, leaving Zara to her thoughts. Our journey together had ended, but the impact of what we had accomplished would last a lifetime. With each step, I felt a sense of purpose and clarity. The future was uncertain, but it was also filled with endless possibilities. And as I walked into the light of the new day, I knew that whatever came next, I was ready to face it. The city below continued to wake, its people moving forward, unburdened by the weight of fragmented pasts. It was a testament to the enduring human spirit and the importance of cherishing each moment. And in that new dawn, I found solace and hope for the future.